and I grew up in West Africa on a hospital ship with the organization called Mercy Ship. So I grew up with 35 different nationalities, so like one foot on the ship, this international community, and the other foot in West Africa. So my identity and my culture is kind of all of these different things combined into one.
People might ask, oh, why would you ever leave, like, Hawaii? It's paradise. Everybody wants to go there. Everybody wants to live there. It's so beautiful. And the dangers of just staying in one place is that you don't really learn about different perspectives.
And what drew me to Whitworth was seeing the other side of the state and sort of the private liberal arts small college campus.
I love it.
So recently, actually last week, someone asked me if I was gay because I'm assuming it's because I had short hair, and I was with a person who had long hair, who was also a female, and mostly I just rolled my eyes, but there's always, based off of how I look, I have a ton of questions, and I don't think any of us are protected from stereotypes or stereotyping, but just how people of color and minority groups are stereotyped because of their skin complexion, you can turn that around just as easy and say, like, well, because you're Caucasian, you're privileged. And that's not always the case. So just as quickly as we are stereotyped, we also stereotype. I don't think any color is really immune from the disease of stereotyping.
Race has been fun to discover at Whitworth because it has made me a person that is other, that I wasn't in tune with before. I didn't know that I was considered an other in certain places. It's been interesting to be someone who's weird to someone where I just feel totally normal. I think it's been really fun, though, to understand that and to understand that it's a common experience to be other in certain places, depending on what your identity is.
And as far as me viewing the stereotypes of other minority students here, I think I'm more open to recognizing those when I see them and seeing how they're affecting that student just in the moment. If I were to see somebody of the dominant culture do someone of a minority culture, I'd be more likely to recognize it and go and say something to either that person in the minority or that person in the dominant culture.
Personally, the stereotypes I've encountered personally are not, as you say, offensive, but they have been there. People would never know until they actually asked me, got to know my story, that I do not identify as an American, and I actually really struggled with this culture because it was so foreign to me. I think
as a historically white campus with white leadership, white funders, white student leadership, that's inevitably going to create a problematic environment for any students that don't fit into that. The isolating, walking through the halls, like none of the pictures look like you, or none of the leadership look like you, so it can sort of be a marginalizing experience, definitely.
I don't really believe in the narrow ridge, so I don't believe in this idea that, like, by not taking a stance, Whitworth is welcoming all groups of people, because I think when you don't take a stance, you are taking a stance. So if you're not going to say we openly affirm the LGBT community, then you're saying that you don't openly affirm the LGBT community. And so by Whitworth not taking a stance on issues such as LGBT rights, they are essentially taking a stance, and they're saying that this is something that we don't want to accept or that we don't want to have a stance on. And so, to me, I think, like, Whitworth has a position, whether they want to say it or not.
Well, that's interesting. In class yesterday, we had a kind of conversation about the culture of Whitworth, and is it a place where people are sometimes too scared, too timid to express their viewpoints, because their viewpoints, they are assuming, are either a minority viewpoint, so most of the students they're assuming do not share their viewpoint, and or it's not considered a Christian viewpoint.
I think a lot of people have the perception that being at a private Christian university would be really hard. But also on the other hand, shouldn't it be like the easiest place to do it because people are supposed to be loving and accepting? And I think that it has been that way for the most part. There have been people who try to share their views more vigorously than others, but like it's never been. People have never done to my face what felt like a personal attack. I find that for the most part, people are really accepting. So,
at first it was really difficult since I came here not knowing, I have never been in a Christian community before, and I have Christian friends back home, but it's like a totally different, because the cultural environment is different. So we just hang out with each other and we bonded in so many different other ways. And when I first came here, it seems like people only bonded through religion and, through spiritual aspects more than anything. And I felt like I couldn't connect with anyone. But then I started having conversations with people, and there, it's a long story to tell, but I found friends, and it's been better since.
And that's why, I'm a CDA because I wanted to be a participant in celebrating diversity. I think that that's what's so great about the world, is that we're not all the same. We're not all, that would be, I can't imagine living in a world where we're all exactly the same culture and skin color and language, and it just would be a very dull place to live. And so I love that through having different perspectives and lenses, we can learn about different cultures and religions and lifestyles and everything. I think that's very important to being open-minded and to creating relationships and learning how to work with other people who are different from you. I think it's important to not be afraid of differences and to know that difference can be good, and it gives us a lot of life skills, I think, being exposed to that.
Being passionate about anti-racism is a cool thing, because that kind of means that my role in the fight of anti-racism, or the struggles of anti-racist movement, are as an ally. And so to be an ally to me really means to be an ally for me means that I'm taking the ideas of people that are directly affected by racism, so people of color that are my peers, that are my friends, and I can hear what they have to say, and I hear what people of color who are theorists and scholars have to say, and I just take that in and I learn it. But then because of my whiteness and because of my white privilege, I can then be a bridge for other white people that haven't come to terms with their privilege to sort of start to see those ideas.
I think the expectation here is not to agree with one another, but to respect one another and to respect the perspectives of one another. When I consider the global community, the global mosaic, if you will, God's creation, we are here to learn from one another, and I feel we are destined to listen to one another. And by that I mean, if I'm destined to listen to you and you are destined to listen to me, we come up with agreement that does not necessarily mean we have to agree with one another. So we facilitate that by telling or having a courageous conversation with our students. If you are not a Christian, you don't believe in Christ, that's your choice. But I'm here to listen to you, and you are here to listen to me.
I think diversity is just having those different worldviews and different life experiences.
I think it's important that everyone knows that they're diverse. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. That's the whole point.